Hi everyone, this is Neel Raithatha, also known as the Wax Whisperer. Thank you for joining me in my latest video. I've decided to combine a couple of cases for you in this video, and this is case one of a patient who attended with bilateral, fully occluding, very soft, mushy, glutinous earwax and dead skin, and this is their left ear that I'm commencing with. And with this type of wax and dead skin, it can be very difficult to suction. So in a moment, I'm going to install some medical grade olive oil spray. And what the olive oil helps to do is to bind this very loose, wet, mushy wax together to make it a bit firmer. And that makes it a lot easier to suction. In addition, the oil helps to lubricate the inside of the suction probe, so it prevents the wax from clogging up and blocking the inside of the suction probe as I'm vacuuming. With this particular case, it would have been a bit difficult to use a Jobson Horner correct because they have got quite a bendy ear canal, and you will see that a lot better in a moment when I remove this plug of wax and skin out of the ear. And because the plug extends all the way to the patient's eardrum, and I'm always a bit more cautious of using manual instruments such as ear hooks and forceps and corrects when we enter the bony part of the ear canal. So the inner 2/3 of the ear canals, it's made up of bone, and it's just a very thin layer of skin that's lining that bone, which makes it very sensitive if you do make contact with it. And so the eardrum is fully visible, and this particular view gives you an idea of how bendy the patient's ear canal is. So to the left, that's the patient's second bend of the ear canal, just where the tip of the suction probe is. And in the distance, we can just about visualize the patient's eardrum, but only the back portion, the posterior section of the eardrum. The front part of the eardrum was obscured by that bendy second corner of the ear canal. And this is the same patient. This is of their right ear. The entrance of this ear is a lot more narrower than their left ear, and I'm just using the endoscope to retract the ear open, which then allows me to go in with the suction probe. So the diameter of the suction probe, to say it gives you some perspective, is 2.1 millimeters or thereabouts. So that's the outer diameter, and the inner diameter is around 1.7 millimeters. So the wall of the thickness of the wall of the suction probe is about 0.2 millimeters all the way around, and you can see it just about fits into the patient's ear. So the average ear canal width is around, I would say, 6 to 8 millimeters, and the height around 8 millimeters to 1 centimeter. But in this particular patient, the entrance of the ear canal, at least, it's more or less the same diameter as the suction probe, so about around 2 or 3 millimeters in thickness. Now, with that patient's right ear, you might have seen anteriorly there was a bit of a thinning of the eardrum, so it's very likely this patient previously either had a grommet, which they don't report having, and typically if you've had a grommet fitted, there is some scar tissue that develops, but anteriorly and posteriorly, so to the front back part of the ear canal. Or it could have just been this patient had some trauma to the eardrum and had a perforation in that particular region. A grommet would normally be a bit lower down, actually. It's more in the anterior inferior quadrant. So in the case of the right ear, it would be the southeast region, whereas that thinning of the eardrum is more on the east, so to the right of the eardrum. So this is patient 2. You can see this patient's got really long dead skin ribbons that I'm just extracting, and I was quite surprised that there was still a lot more in the ear after removing those 2 first ribbons. Now, with dead skin, it can fold upon itself. So if a patient's ear is fully occluded with dead skin and dead skin only, you can remove a significant amount because the skin just folds upon itself and it compresses. And again, that's another large ribbon of dead skin. And there's still more to come. So I've probably removed half of the blockage already. Again, this patient's entrance to the ear canal is slightly narrow, and that's a possible reason as to why this patient's developed this condition of dead skin, because when you've got a narrowing like this, it makes it a lot more difficult for the skin to naturally migrate out of the ear as it dies and sheds. So our ear has evolved over millennia to allow the skin to naturally itself work its way out of the ear after it dies and sheds. So it's almost like a conveyor belt. The skin that lines the ear canal, it dies, it sheds, and then it moves sideways out of the ear. But when you've got a narrowing or a bendy or twisty ear canal, you can get trapped within that narrowing or in the twist or bends of the ear canal. So I'm just mopping up with the fine end, get a nice healthy eardrum. This patient does have to attend almost yearly to have the ears cleaned, so just a bit more skin here. I was getting a bit of clarinetting, so clarinetting is when the skin violently flaps and it makes a very loud high frequency squeal, so I'm just trying to tear away that skin. Just a final clean up at the entrance. So again, this view gives you an idea of how narrow the patient's ear canal entrance is. So I'm having to stretch it open, endoscope has to veer off to the left and then back to the right in order to visualise the eardrum. So they've got like a chicane shaped ear canal. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video, guys. Take care, keep well, and speak soon. Bye.